episode 2 of The Face Show. The very first episode ever.
We just kidding. It ain't the first.
The first episode ever.
But it is the second piece, bitches. That's nasty, man. You can't even see what I'm looking at. But that's not right. Woo! This is gonna be a silly one, folks. I'll tell you this right now. This is gonna be a silly one.
That fuck me up.
It is. It's messing me up right now. It's messing me up right now.
You don't even know what we're looking at.
No, you don't even want to know what we're looking at. To be honest with you, oh my God, it's gaping. That's how bad it is. Now that wasn't a clue, we're gonna move right along. And this is episode 2. This is your host, Buck Cody, and this is your co-host. It's not episode 10. Not yet. I'm sorry, guys.
We'll get to it, though.
For right now, I guess you could call me Batman because I'm wearing the big bat on my chest. I didn't even know I was doing that. But as your Dark Knight of this late night web show. Oh, that's not bad. I think it's time we do a little updates. Because you know what? The local news doesn't even update the stories.
No, they don't. They don't. They leave you fucking hanging, bro.
Well, yeah, it's ridiculous. In some stories, I honestly want to know what happened. Now, Megan Meyer, we were talking about that before, the bill and whatnot, but remember how we mentioned,
I made that drink strong.
Woo! Commitment to excellence, folks. Yet again. Now, remember how we mentioned that the adult responsible for some of this behavior, her name was...
Lori Drew.
Lori Drew.
Lori, this goes out to you and your lack of moral responsibility.
It really is true, because, you know, as a parent, you should have known better. My co-host thinks you were unfairly picked out because there was a group of you.
There was a group. There was like 5 people or so.
But as I said, she was the adult and she should have known better. But was acquitted of those trumped-up charges out in Cali because the judge, not acquitted, but the judge threw them out because really, I understand the need for justice, but you can't stretch the law to make it do things it was never meant to do. And that's unfortunate. She's going to have to deal with her conscience. And probably a whole bunch of lawsuits for a civil suit, because I'm sure that's allowed. But and you know what? Other updates. I remember me talking briefly about some unexplainable crap, such as dragons and dinosaurs still being alive and actually being the same thing. Even though I argued that ass backwards, but whatever. You know, the marketing wasn't used on dinosaurs. It was used on dragon to turn them into dinosaurs. But whatever. I argued that backwards. But off the Alaskan coast, there is an unexplained, ridiculous blob-like thing. The blob. Yes. It's real, it's alive, and it's apparently swimming around.
It's from the movie, straight out of the movie, but it's not pink. It's black.
You know, it's out of Creepshow 2, and I'm telling you,
Black Blob.
The Black Blob from Creepshow 2 is alive and well. I mean, he's had some work. He did an episode of Star Trek, and then he went on to terrorize the Alaskan coast, and you know, scientists aren't sure what it is. They think it's some sort of algae or something, but we haven't seen anything like it.
Right. Well, they thought at first maybe it was like an oil spill,
or a natural oil spill. They thought maybe it was a natural leak because people don't realize this, but the ocean off the ocean bed, in some places on the Earth, including right here in America, the oil will bubble out and leak on its own. So that's what they thought, a natural oil spill.
Except we're not allowed to tap those. We just let every other country take those, right?
Well, I'm sure China, you know, pays us off somehow. Oh, they're buying our debt. That's right, they are paying us off. Oh my God, how did that happen? How did that? I mean, what? No, that never happened.
That never happened.
No, not at all.
We just swoop down as well.
That didn't happen. That didn't happen. Just like Clinton didn't sell the nuclear guidance technology.
It turns out the big black blob that everybody's fucking scared about. I've been drinking, so I'm going to curse a lot in this one.
I tried not to this time, and you're off the tangent there.
The big black blob is just some fucking algae. But see, people don't realize is algae can be poisonous. Now, probably the reason why they found a bird that was just feathers and bones left is because it was probably poisonous.
Who knows?
And, you know,
yeah, but they think it's some sort of... They haven't even fully analyzed it yet. And the thing is huge.
They do know it's algae because it's organic.
It's definitely a biomass.
And there's actually bigger ones than that.
Oh, yeah.
There's actually bigger ones, and they're almost double the size.
But they usually don't appear in places where people have cameras. So I'm going to tell you that now. This one, though, and to give you the scope of it, and there are bigger ones out there, but this one was black, which made it different, because the other ones were green, I heard. But this one, 15 miles long and almost 2 miles wide. That's huge, and they're saying there's stuff out there bigger.
Yeah.
Now, would this somehow look like maybe a sea serpent? If you were back in the day, say in the 1600s, you were stuck in this thing, in this muck, if it was swimming around. I mean, technically, a big boat, if it didn't see it and swam right into it, would get stuck in it like tar, just like the birds and whatnot. Now, they showed you a widescreen shot. I mean, again, if I could get the clip, folks, if I could get the clip, I'm going to put it in. So let me pause for a second for insertion of clip.
Insert clip now.
Alright, now if there was a clip there, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If there's not, I'm sorry, I just couldn't find it, now that I know how to do it. But, if you look, they showed I seen a clip where they showed this thing panned out, and you got to see all 15 miles, and it looked like a long snake, and it slithered as it swam through the ocean, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Didn't you say it went against the current?
It did go against the current, because it's swimming, because it's alive. And you know, I heard that they think maybe it came out of ice. There was other reports that it might have come out of a mountain, bubbling up like a volcano. Only it wasn't lava; it was this stuff. So there are conflicting reports from what I heard. But you know, it's just another unexplained stuff, and just to show you that the Earth still has wonders and stuff we don't even understand. And nature is a little more mysterious than people like to give it credit for. But, you know...
Like Bigfoot?
Wow, Bigfoot, yeah, you know, Bigfoot could be... I believe...
They proved Bigfoot exists.
They
found DNA.
They did find DNA, but you know what else is out there that I think is real? I'm gonna just say this. Not just the Loch Ness Monster, because there are a lot of lake-driven... Right. They're dinosaurs, is what they are. And those lake things, they're in Africa, they're in Loch Ness, in huge, vast things that could support them. And I believe those dinosaurs are real. In South America, there's 2 different types of pterodactyl that they're finding. One is huge, you know, like the ones you see in the museum, and big, and you know, very big. And the other ones are a little smaller, and they're both said to be poisonous. Their breath is said to be poisonous. If you eat it, it's poisonous. One quick note before we move on. Just this more unexplainable stuff. We all know Godzilla. You know Godzilla. Mm-hmm. Gojira, as it was really originally called, or whatever. And we all know how it starts. The Japanese fishing boat finds some signs, and then the next thing you know, Godzilla comes. But actually, that's based off of a true story. And the true story was that I think I'm not sure of the decade. It could have been in the 1940s. It could have been in the 1920s. But in that area. That's a big gap, but yeah, I'm sorry. A Japanese fishing boat actually found defrosted like T-Rex, and they had said, you know, it was still fresh, and they said it must have de-thawed from a glacier. Or I don't know if it was a T-Rex, but it was some type of dinosaur, and they had said it must have de-thawed from a glacier, and that's how it is. And at the time, it was accepted. But folks, let's think about that. Dinosaurs supposedly, again, happened millions and millions back, like I said, when farts were alive. Millions of years ago, right? The Ice Age happened, what, thousands of years ago, 100,000 years ago. There's no way the two could be at the same time unless they were around at the same time. But, you know, at the time, people just like, oh yeah, Ice Age, long time ago, dinosaurs, long time ago, must be the same. No. But, you know, other cool stuff like that is out there, and again, I challenge you guys to go out there and search for yourself. But, moving right along. So what other stuff we have planned here? Oh,
you know what? I want you to clear up something.
Oh no, I heard about this. So what is it?
No
What did I
cares.
say?
So
What did I say?
Because a lot of people have come up to me and said, "Hey, look, what does it mean when you guys say you only have to trick a bitch once?"
Wow.
What does trick a bitch once mean?
All right, guys. Now this is for guys and girls out there. You know, and it's funny because I was watching Entourage the other night, and I think the character Turtle had the thing on what's that movie called, Knocked Up, and how he got her in the movie. You know what I'm talking about, guys? Because he's kind of ugly, and he got the hot chick. People are like, oh, it's because he's funny, and he's like, but in the beginning of the movie he wasn't even funny. How could he get her? And that was on, if you guys saw last week's episode. And I'm going to answer this with you only have to trick a bitch once. Technically, guys and girls, this works for both of us. By tricking a bitch once means you could be drunk that night, it could be dark. I mean, after all, when you first see a person, your brain doesn't really focus in on the features. It focuses in on the broad features, and you don't get to see their flaws until a little later. So you hook up with them under these guides, right? And then it doesn't matter what you look like, because you only have to trick them once, because after that, they've already hooked up with you, so it's all good. There's already positive feelings in the brain. And
endorphins.
Endorphins,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Especially if you got to hit it first, you get to hit it again if you did a good job. And it doesn't matter what you look like, because at this point, especially, you know, for ladies out there, for ladies, you know, once she sees you in that romantic light, you could look like dog shit, and she's still gonna love you. You know, she's still gonna want it. And for dudes out there, I mean, sometimes, hey man, it happens, man. Sometimes you ever seen an attractive dude with an ugly chick before and wonder how the fuck did that happen? Because she tricked him once. Guys, have you ever seen the most beautiful chick you've ever seen and then wonder what the fuck is she doing with that piece of shit? Cause you only have to trick a bitch once. That's all it takes, guys.
Chick. He means chick.
Chick, yeah. But that's the way my phrase goes. I'm sorry. Alright, let me explain this. I do not mean bitch in a negative, derogatory way. Unless I say bitching. Like you're bitching at me. So bitch to me is the equivalent of chick. It's not, I don't use it in a negative way. I'm going to put that out there. I'm going to put that out there right now. That's just my terminology. You can laugh at that. You can laugh at that, but that's the truth. And you don't see me. I mean, I use a different word. Actually,
that's real. That's real right here. That's being real.
That's how I do it. That's
being real. That's how he talks normally when we're outside of the studio.
Hell, you know, how I use bitch as an adjective and a noun. How the fuck? Yeah, look, I gotta go pick this bitch up, and I'll be talking about like the camera on the floor, not an actual person. So, I mean, that's just me.
This is where you from.
That's it. It's just where I'm from. You know what? Let's talk about something else. Part of the updates and part of this conversation. We told you about the pack before, which is four or more females chilling while out in the group. And we told you that we knew the way around it because I'll re-explain it one more time real fast, that we said that it's hard for you as a guy to go into a group of women like that, especially when they're four or more, and that's a different dynamic, and try to pick off the one that's maybe attracted to you. Because usually, if the other ladies aren't getting play, you're getting no play. And if you don't have the support of your boys, you're gonna almost get something, and then they're gonna leave. And it happens 9 times out of 10 with these groups of women. I mean, you'll encounter a pack that's all about letting their friend do it. And they're like dudes, but most times that's just not the case. And it's I know, man, I know. But I'm gonna explain to you how you do it. And this is gonna take it's a simple technique. And people thought we explained it last time. Let me clear that up. We didn't. We told you how to get a tri-pack with just yourself, and that's to go after the lead chick, and that works most of the time. You know, the other two might bitch at you or whatever, but if you get the alpha chick, you're good. That does not work with a pack, because the alpha chick may be the alpha chick, but with 3 other chicken heads screaming at you, time to go, they're gonna lose every time. Sorry, they're not chicken heads. But the way around it is, this is when you really need the help of your boys, and this is why I'm saying this to you, because there is only one way to defeat a pack of women. There's only one way to defeat the pack. Don't wipe that shit on me. This is gross. And that is, you beat it with penis, man. Cock is the only answer for this one, folks.
You gotta trick that bitch once.
You gotta trick her once, and that's good. You gotta get your...
Twice, 3 times
a whore.
a lady.
But that's when you get your boys, and you drag them out from wherever the hell they're hiding. You man them up and say, listen, I don't care what you're doing, you're gonna block for me, and blocking is the only way. If you distract the pack with dick, it'll work. And it'll work almost every time. They may not even be interested in your boys. Who cares? It's not about that. You're not even asking your boys to take one for the team. No one's asking them to sacrifice themselves. What we need is a distraction. If we can distract, we can make out. And I mean make out, not make out, but we can make out too. Shit happens.
I'd like to make an announcement.
Alright.
Ashley Tisdale is my hottie of the week.
Alright.
New video, dark hair, badass look. She moved away from the Mickey Mouse look with the blonde hair. Blonde hair's played out. Nobody gives a shit about your blonde hair anymore.
You know what? And that's that. I'm gonna say
Ashley Tisdale, hottie of the week.
I'm gonna concur. I'm gonna agree with that. I'm gonna definitely agree with that, because you know what?
She came out of nowhere. She came out of nowhere.
Because the Disney Channel does. They do get hot chicks. They're just usually underage, and then you wait until they get to 18, and then they start doing real stuff. Yeah. So, you know, again, you have no idea what we're viewing right now, because this is great. But
we actually have a screen in front of us that you can't see.
Yeah, full of interesting and fun photos.
And I put some stuff on there to distract Albert.
It's true. You're going to see the smile on my face.
And randomly, if we start laughing, it may have nothing to do with what we're saying or
anything at all.
Or anything but what's on this fucking
now,
thing.
alright, now, we've been talking about some light stuff. Now we're going to get into some heavy stuff.
Oh, it's heavy in the middle.
Oh, it's going to weigh you down. And last night, President Obama...
Barack Obama!
Oh, to the man of the people. I don't know whose people. Anyway, Barack Obama went on TV, and he did his speech about healthcare. And then people are going to talk about the end of his speech, which has to do with the police and the college professor. We're going to stay away from that. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to the president got it. Now, here's my analysis of this. You've probably heard it if you watched a couple of other places that are more critical of the president, such as Fox News or something, or maybe CNN. You may have heard that he didn't answer any of the questions, really.
I heard that.
Now, you watch the thing, and I'm going to give it to the press slightly this time, because this was the first press conference in forever that they actually asked legitimate questions of the president. Because, you know, they had love with the president, and but they asked good questions. This question, so we know what the hell he stands for. I mean, it's not, you know, crazy stuff to want to know what the president's proposing and wants to get done. I mean, he talks a fancy talk about wanting to help everybody and blah 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 blah. Who doesn't? Nobody wants to kill everybody. You know what I'm saying? But I want to know how he's going to help people. Like, what's he going to do to accomplish that? And he managed not to do it. In an hour, he answered like 11 questions. That meant, all right, let's just drop it down. That meant he per question he talked over 10 minutes on, more or less. That's a long time per question. And these guys didn't follow it up with anything serious. They didn't, when the president started going off on tangents, like we get to go off on tangents because, you know, this is a free-forming show.
We don't get paid.
We don't get paid. We're not the president. The president shouldn't go on tangents. Reporters should...
The president has the best what? The best doctor available.
Oh, that's right. Now...
We don't.
We don't.
We don't.
We don't. We won't. And that's fine. He's the president. I even understand that. That makes sense. I want the president of the United States to have the best care possible. I want him to have the robotic cyber like the $6 Million Man if something happens to the president. I want that.
I also want him to make the best decisions possible.
Well, there's that too. Because, you know, it's very important. Like, for example, what he was talking about before, there was I forget who the reporter was, but he asked a two-part question to President Obama. And one of the parts would be if Congress and himself would adopt the plan he's proposing for the people as a show of, you know, that this is the best possible. And then the other part of the question was, I'm trying to remember now. Now I don't even remember. That one he said no to. And actually that's part two. The part one to the question was, if he would guarantee that they would never be denied coverage for anything, any procedure they need to do, that it would stay between the doctor and the patient, and it would be, in this case, better than the current system because the HMO would have nothing to do with it, and bureaucracy wouldn't interfere. It would just be, okay, the doctor says we need to do this, the government pays the bill. That's what this guy wanted, and wanted to know if the president would do it. And this is very, very important because to his critics out there, this is stuff that they said is not going to happen. You know, I mean, that the bureaucracy will interfere. This is what the opponents of this bill are saying, right? So here's his chance to tell them naysayers no, and we're gonna do this the right way. And basically, he blah 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 blah, quite eloquently, I might add, blah 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 blah. It was like, you know what it was like? It was like Charlie Brown's teachers, bro. Wah 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 wah. And he did get to an answer. If you could sift through all the bullshit, you could get to an answer. And the answer was no. No, absolutely. And he gets to it, and he answers it definitely, and then he bullshits. He restates the question, because he answers the second question first. So he wastes 10 minutes on that, right? So then after you forgot what the hell he asked, he rephrases the question nowhere near how I phrased it, which is closer to how it was originally said. He used big words to confuse people. And he's like, no, what we're doing here is we want to change the system. Of course we weren't going to let it stay the same. The question wasn't, weren't you going to let it stay the same? But we got your answer, Mr. President. The answer is no. You can be denied procedures. And you probably will be. Thank you. And he also answered, and he made a joke about it, about the other thing, which was, would he and the congressman take this thing? And he says, well, we're going to try to get it similar to what Congress and I have. But he said no. And he's like, well, I'm the President of the United States. I have to have the best doctor. You know, I'm going to have the best care possible. This isn't about me. This is about you. So no, he would never take that second-class bullshit. He's going to spoon-feed the rest of us, poor folk, anything either. And on that, and then he was asked, I think, another good question. I'm trying to think of what it was. It was actually pretty good. Oh, he was asked if there was going to be what sacrifices were going to be, and the guy went off to list some sacrifices, like end of life health care sacrifices, procedural issues, and actually the questions I mentioned before were in response to this question. And he was asked specifics. You know, are you going to be denied coverage? Or are we going to have to sacrifice stuff and get less coverage as a result of getting universal health care? And the president bullshitted, spun his little webs, but in the end he did answer the question. The answer is yes. And we should enjoy the sacrifice for our people, right? Right? We should want to sacrifice.
I don't want to sacrifice for anybody else. I sacrifice enough when I wake up in the morning to the time I fall asleep at night. I don't need to sacrifice any more for any of you fucks or you.
Oh, that's right. Now I'm gonna tell you,
I'd like to see the president sacrifice.
Hey,
I mean, has he taken a huge pay cut?
No.
Oh, he hasn't sacrificed financially.
No. And
has he taken a cut in his health care?
No.
Oh, so
no.
He hasn't sacrificed when it comes to his health.
Now, let me explain something here. I think the president's right on a couple of issues. Healthcare does need to be reformed. It is too pricey.
Okay.
There is waste there. And he's right. The restriction. But have you noticed that the president has changed his arguments to match more a conservative argument, even though he's putting forth one of the most liberal plans in history? You get what I'm saying? So he's going to argue it off with the rationale that it sounds more conservative when it's really the opposite. But that's what he does. But I do agree. The restrictions on healthcare should be taken out, meaning they shouldn't be able to disqualify you from getting coverage if you leave your state. Because right now what happens is a health plan can't leave a state. It's governed by the laws of that state, and they can't sell it in another state. New York plans can't be sold to Jersey. Jersey can't be sold to New York. I agree. This was originally a Republican idea, mind you, but I agree with that. Those restrictions should be removed. Allow the free market to work itself out. And that will drive costs down, because when instead of I have a choice between 5 people, I have a choice between 50 people, I guarantee you more bang for the buck. That's free market solutions. And I do agree, again, you shouldn't be denied coverage for pre-existing conditions. You should be able to pay more for it, If there's nothing wrong with paying more for it. I'm not a proponent for I'm saying, you know what, I already have cancer, and I need coverage from you, you're new. It's not fair to you that I'm already dying and you have to pay for it. But it's not fair to me that I have no coverage. So the correct response is I should pay more for it, but I should still have something. I actually have a plan, and this is for you.
Isn't that how it works right now?
No.
Don't you pay more?
No, they'll just deny you. That's how it happens. It's law. It's how it's done. I actually took a course on insurance, didn't do anything with it, but it's another thing. I do understand the insurance industry. And I'm going to say this. This is my plan, politicians out there. If you hear this, steal it and say you invented it, I don't care. My idea to fix healthcare is I got from both sides of the fence. I think both sides have a good go at it. The way it should be done is very simple. What you do is you remove the restrictions like Obama said, and the Republicans said. That's all that crap I agree with. And at the same time, what you do is there are Medicaid programs being sponsored state to state to state to state. You take federal money, such as the TARP shit that nobody wants. Take the rest of that money and you filter it in to the states, and you put it in control of the states per state. And what you say is, and I know that there needs to be revision there because they need to pay these HMOs more, I mean not the HMOs, the doctors more, because the doctors aren't getting paid by Medicare, and that's because Medicare doesn't have enough money. So giving money into Medicare will help. And with the one stipulation is that everybody in the state is eligible. That's illegal. And that for the illegal immigrants, it's not the state's responsibility to give you free health care. You could pay for it with the free market. I'm not saying illegals shouldn't have insurance. I'm saying illegals shouldn't have free insurance. That's what I'm saying. And what you do is, and people will be like, oh, how are you supposed to pay for this? And it's very simple. Through jobs. Right now, a small business can't get plans that a big business can get. And when you open up the limitations on this, small businesses will have huge choices to get proper plans. And what you do is, for the small business, or any business that gives me a plan, and they encourage me, what, you going to fucking throw up back there, guy? Oh, man, I think you drank too much. But
I'm just looking at something.
But on the small business, or any business that provides me health insurance, you give a tax subsidy, a tax credit for the amount spent on the program. But for the people that are forcing their employees to take the state's plan, charge them a tax of how much it costs a year. So either way you look at it, the employee is getting coverage, and because that works in two ways. That incentivizes, the president uses that, but I'm not saying it right. That puts an incentive for companies to give people insurance because it's a tax write-off, and not state insurance, because if everybody wanted state insurance, the system would collapse. It would put them on an HMO insurance, which is what we want. This will also force the HMOs, because they're now competing against the government, and people say that the government doesn't compete, they demolish. But what we're doing is making sure the government isn't your first choice, it's your last choice. And with the so it's putting people on HMOs as opposed to the government. But the idea is, when you're not working, you should have the government to fall back on. That's my opinion. That's the way I think it should be done. You tax the companies that are giving it, and the ones that aren't. And that's how you do it. So either you're going to get taxed or you're going to get a tax subsidy. But tax is the way to answer it. And you tax the business, not the individual. I mean, the same Medicaid tax or whatever should still be in your bill. But what do you think about what I just said?
I don't know. I hope somebody wrote that down.
It's a lot, but I think
that's all I think about it.
I think that's my plan for it.
Write that down.
But universal health care is a bad thing.
Well, it failed in Europe. It's failing in Canada. You know, nobody's exactly driving up to Canada to get health care right now.
Oh, no. And they're coming down here for it.
So,
I mean, people die on this system. It's ration health care.
Let's do it. It sounds like a fucking great idea.
And
it's failing. Let's do it. We're Americans. We're cocky enough to say that we can do it better than you. We're better than you.
That's right. And that's the plan, man. And I'm sorry, but you know what it really is? America, we didn't used to be this way. We used to be a culture that valued the input of our elders, the people that have come before us.
I don't like old people, I'll tell you that right now.
I'm just saying, we used to be a society, and this is a couple of decades. This is like your grandfather's time. That used to value the opinion of the people that came before us, their wisdom. We used to be that society. We didn't used to throw away old people into retirement homes and stuff like that. The way a family used to work is, and this is what it is because it's an attack on family, the way family values used to be is, we took care of our own. So if Grandpa got a little loopy, Grandpa was living with one of the sons or the daughters, but Grandpa was still getting taken care of. Nowadays, we just say, okay, we're going to throw them away in a retirement home, and they're useless. The elderly in this country are treated the same way children are in this country, as infants that don't know what they're talking about. And it's propagated this way. And this is how it's being done, and we're throwing away people. So, don't think that the first people that are going to be cut under this plan are the elderly. When it's the end of your life, all of a sudden, you don't matter. Bye-bye, it's your right to die, not our right to make you live a couple of months longer and waste millions of tax dollars.
What's that song? Oh yeah, Live and Let Die.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's how it's going to work. And
old people, we're going to let you die.
But people forget that they're going to eventually be those old people. And you put in the plans that are going to make your life at the end shitty. Because, like we're never going to grow old. What do you think? I don't get the way people think, like, they fuck their future selves and are fine with it. Like, yeah, when I grow old, I hope I get beaten and treated like shit. And have to wear diapers and die with no memory. Really? That's the way you want to go? Alright. But that's not the way I want to go. But, that was our heavy segment. Was one heavy segment.
Well, I'm going to tell you my problem with old people. My problem with old people is a lot of them are cocky, they're cranky, and they like to point fingers at young people.
Oh, they do.
Like we're the ones that made all the mistakes.
Product placement, Mountain Dew.
I'm pretty sure that our oxygen levels are at what? What are our oxygen levels
12%.
12% due to pollution from what generations?
Theirs.
Not ours. Right? Okay, so all this, but we're the ones that have to go green.
Oh,
right?
Exactly.
We're the ones that have to go green.
All right.
So we're the ones what? Paying for it. Right.
And which is what we're doing right now with our current administration, spending all this money. Because our grandchildren and children are going to be the ones to say, it's not our fault the planet's like this, but whose mistakes are we paying for with all this debt? Our father's mistakes and grandfather's mistakes.
But really, whose fault is it? The elderly's fault. No, that set it up during what administrations? The Reagan administration, the Clinton administration, and so forth and so on, all the way to JFK's administration.
That's right.
Okay? And now, we're going to have to pay for it. Someone's going to point the fingers at us.
Now, we're going to get in the last thing Obama said in that thing. Obama was set up for this. He set this question up. I'm not even going to... He wanted to talk about this, and why? What have we said last week? It's all a shell game. It's all distraction. Right?
Distraction. The race card.
Exactly. Distract you from what this hand... Distract you with this hand, so you won't see what this hand is doing. And that's
just like that. Just like that. Caught you with the left,
son. As a matter of fact, if you watch the end of it, there was some confusion on who got to speak, because the girl thought it was her turn, and the girl who was the plant and the setup for that last question, and this dude thought. So he let the dude speak, and then the girl speak, and the idea was the girl had to have the last word.
Fact of the matter is, you're not fooling anybody.
No.
Barack Obama, you don't fool anybody. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're not fooling anybody. You're not fooling Glenn Beck. You're not fooling Fox. You're not fooling CNN. You're not fooling the American people. You're fooling yourself.
Well, you are fooling MSNBC. I mean, I'm going to give him credit for that. He's fooling the shit out of those people, but they love him.
Good job, MSNBC. Good job.
I love you guys.
Half-ass Americans.
You make me laugh, and that's, you know what? But
someone's got to do it.
Yeah, I know. But in all seriousness, his last part of the statement. Now, he acted like somebody goaded him into saying this, like they pulled it out of him. Because at first he started very respectful. He told the story of what happened. He said, "I don't know who I'm going to be." He starts off right at the bat. He says, "Listen, I'm going to be a little bit biased."
Are we talking about the police? We're talking about the police?
Yes. Now I watched the whole thing. I know people have seen clips and only seen part of it, but I've seen the whole thing. And he starts off he starts off very respectful, like, "Listen, I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna say I'm gonna be biased. This is a friend of mine, so I'm gonna be a little biased when I speak. I'm gonna put that out there first." And he goes, "My friend came home from a trip. He locked himself out. He had to break in with his driver. A neighbor saw this, saw two people breaking into the house. Rightfully called the police. The police were on their way. And he's like, up until this point, everything's good because the police are supposed to. They're just doing their job. And then you didn't think he was going to go that. I thought, hearing the beginning of his statement, that he wasn't going to take a side and he was just going to say, I have to wait until the facts. But he didn't say that. No. He just ruined this poor guy's career by ending it with and I think the police acted stupidly for arresting him in the first place.
Stupidly. Our president uses the word stupidly
to describe a law enforcement agency.
Excellent. Now another government official referring to a government official as acting stupidly.
Now,
phenomenal.
Good
We've
work.
reached an all-time high, America.
Now,
that's your president. Yours.
Now he did do this, and I feel bad for this cop because too bad, homie. I hope you weren't a career, which you were though. But I hope you weren't a career cop because your career is. I hope you didn't have anything to do with race relations.
Well, he was a speaker.
Oh man, but he did have stuff.
Speaker for race relations.
Now I'm not. The president shouldn't have. But I understand the president is very, very defensive over his boys.
But I don't understand that. Isn't the president supposed to be objective?
Oh, of course.
And not personalize this kind of thing?
But the last time one of his boys got in trouble, he illegally fired someone for being too old. Violating a law he wrote himself. His own fucking law. He was just like, And I'm not going to get into that. That's a different subject. But we all know that's how the president does. When it comes to his boys, he's very defensive.
What do you mean his boys?
Dude, that's his boy. He's defensive.
His boy?
That was his boy. That was his boy. Probably one of his old teachers. His friend. He said on TV it's his friend. That's his boy. And all right, I can almost guarantee to tell you what happened.
Now let's just clarify. This was an African American individual. This is a black guy.
And not just a black guy. This is not. We're not going to even stereotype him as an angry black man. No. This was a well-learned, and from what everybody says, usually an even-tempered...
He was a college professor.
College professor at Harvard, right? I think it was Harvard.
I think so.
So, this guy really... Excuse me. This guy was
Mountain Dew getting the best.
Yeah, it is getting the best of me. But this isn't your everyday dog on the street. This is a highly educated, well-respected man who's friends with the president. He should have known better. But I could almost guarantee what happened. This guy had a frustrating day. He came home from like an 24-hour flight, coming from China. He had to break into his own freaking crib. His key probably broke or something. Who knows what happened. His place has been broken into before. Police come. Now I'm going to say this on his defense slightly. I am sure that seeing how this is the second time since he's been gone, that they've called, that the cops have been called because there was a break-in. So this is time 2. So it's not like they're going in there on maybe this is a prank call or just to check it out. They're probably going in there thinking these guys struck again. So I'm sure they went in guns blaze. I'm not saying their guns were actually out, but you know what I mean. They went in there with their business faces on, not with, hey, how are you doing on. You know what I mean? I'm sure they went in there with business face on. And rightfully so, because he's been broken into before. And maybe this guy didn't even know that. But I don't know this. That part hasn't been mentioned. So I'm sure they went in there with that cop, I'm the authority attitude. And let me explain something about police and about college professors. Two of the most arrogant groups of people on the planet. College professors, especially elite college professors. I'm going to not say this to the non-elite college professors out there, but especially the elite professors are very arrogant people. At the same time, so are police, because it's their job to be arrogant. It's their job because police believe they are better than you, and you are not on their level. They are your authority. You are below them. So,
wow. Another American mentality.
Exactly.
That's phenomenal. Just like the rest of the government. We're
Yeah.
better than you.
We're
We can
better than
succeed
you.
where you can't.
Exactly. And I'm your authority. So, they come in there, even if they're good cops, you come in there with that attitude. I am sure whatever they did, they said something to even though it's not in any report, I'm going to guarantee you they said something and were nasty to this guy, this college professor. And that was the last straw, this college professor. That was it. That was the straw. He snapped. He went crazy. He cursed these guys out, which everybody who's been ever harassed or talked to by the police knows, or stopped, even if you're not in the wrong. Don't get into arguments. I've gotten into arguments with cops and I've been arrested for it. He got in an argument with a cop, he got arrested. I mean, I was later acquitted and the charges were dropped, just like with this guy, because again, sometimes in the heat of anger you get arrested and things get thrown out. You know, because of you never should have been arrested, but then again, you never should have mouthed off. So I understand losing your temper, but at the same time, let me explain something. I'm gonna take the Bill Cosby stance. Race had nothing to do with this. There was a black cop, there was a Spanish cop, and the white cop was in charge. But he was in charge of teaching people how not to racially profile. You know,
which he did not racially profile.
No, it had nothing to do with this guy being black.
It happened to do with the fact of the matter is, they've been called to the house before for a break-in, okay? So all of a sudden they were on their guard, they were on their defense.
Exactly.
Okay, game face is on, time to do work.
And then this guy was uncooperating, and I'm sure he felt like he was being...
They get to the door, okay? He's uncooperating. The second they ask him for his ID to prove he lives there, he started in with the racial comment and the your mama fucking jokes.
He did show it to him. He
did show it to him.
But I understand they said he went crazy when they was asked to be talked to outside. Now we all know, folks. Now again, I'm gonna play his defense for a second. In his defense, if you in your car and a cop wants to talk to you outside, 9 times out of 10 you're about to be arrested and searched, or searched and maybe not arrested. But it's never a good indication to be asked to talk to outside. You rather that dude come, if you're in the house, you rather him come into your house than you go outside and talk. If you're in your car, you rather him talk to you outside of the window than you have to get out and around the car. So things were already going bad. He was arrested, and then... But on hindsight, this poor cop, when this guy called the chief of police, I understand he was in his rights to do it, and I'm not saying politics should ever infringe on policing. But this guy should have been smarter. If he got the number... Crazy people say they're going to call the chief of your police. But crazy people but a crazy person with clout, actually, a regular crazy person won't get the chief of police's number. When this guy did, it may have been time to back off, because he might have been crazy, but it could have cost you. But I do believe the cop was in the right. I'm not going to say this guy... I'm not going to say either party was 100% correct, because I don't think they were. But...
Well, first of all, we weren't there, so we don't know definitely exactly what happened.
We've heard both sides of the story, though.
We do know that the police chief has taken side with this police department, and rightfully so.
Oh, yeah.
We do know that the President of the United States should be objective at all points.
And shouldn't have gotten
involved.
He should have stuck to how he began that speech.
And like Bill Cosby said,
wait until all the facts.
Wait until all the facts had come in before you even open your mouth.
Because not always is it an issue of race. I think race had nothing to do with it except for being in the professor's head. You know, I don't think he did it to try to get himself out of trouble. I think he jumped to the wrong conclusion.
Well, now let me ask you a question. Do you think that all these race cards are being pulled all of a sudden because we have a black president?
I think, you know what? I think I think it's being used in a way that offends me as a minority. And I'm going to explain why. All of a sudden, certain things can and can't be said anymore because it could offend a race, or you can't say this and that. Like with Sotomayor, maybe people didn't know this. But when I joked about it last week, I am Puerto Rican too, I'm Cuban too, I'm going to say that, I'm Spanish, right? But it doesn't matter if I'm Spanish, white, black, or Asian. If I wanted to make fun of her for blinking, I can make fun of her for blinking. It upsets me that people are like, she's the first Latina ever. Listen, Spanish people have been brought up to the bench before. Bush, not... First off, let's look at George Bush Jr. put in more African Americans in seats of power than any other administration before him or since. That includes Obama. Oh yeah, Condoleezza Rice. How about who was before Condoleezza Rice? You know what I'm saying? Colin Powell. How about all the other black people he put in prominent positions? Because Bush really wasn't a racist. He didn't care. Bush nominated a Spanish male to be the first Spanish guy in. And we've already had maybe a Portuguese, or he could have been Portuguese or Spanish, the lineage is not sure, like 50, 100 years ago in the Supreme Court. So it's not that big of a deal. And personally, the Supreme Court is so small, I do not care your race, just what you believe in and what your record shows.
Well, I'd like to say, when the election went off, and the race thing, once again, the race thing is just a buffer, okay? It's just a distraction, okay? But I would like to say that I would say 90% of the hip-hop community, rap, and I listen to rap, okay? And I listen to hip-hop, I listen to everything.
We love it, that's
okay,
right.
We love it, we don't have a problem with it. And you know, I give KRS-One very much respect for his political opinion, okay? I'm not going to take that away. But there were some famous rappers that came out there, and I remember one, specifically, came out and said, your president wasn't doing the job, so we had to elect our own. Now, I'm pretty sure that our president is your president is my president, so what's this you and we shit?
And
what the hell was that all about?
Black people vote all the time. Listen, you know what makes me angry, and I understand why, I get it, but it makes me mad in its own sense. You should never vote for somebody based on their race.
That's ignorance.
It is. You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it. You should vote on them. You could be proud that...
That's ignorance on a white trash level, and that's ignorance in a ghetto level.
Now, you could be proud of the fact that it's up for the dialogue. There's nothing wrong with that. But you shouldn't vote for him just because he's black, or just because she's Spanish, or just because... And racial, it's being used as a shield to bat down opposition, and it makes me angry. The other day with...
disgusting.
With who was it? Senator... There was Al Ford. Al Ford was his last name, I believe, a black guy, part of the coalition. I forget who he was a part of, and he was versus that other chick. Who am I thinking? What's her name? Ward, right?
Oh yeah, that was.
Yeah, and she tried to use reverse racism, as they call it, on him.
But she did it. She didn't do it the right way.
Well, you know what it is? She tried to put it like...
She just sounded like an old honky white bitch.
You know what it is? She tried to say that, oh, you can't talk against my opinion because other black people support me. No! That doesn't work, and that infuriated him, and it would infuriate me because we're like-minded in this. The way I look at it is, treat me as a person, not as a race.
And that's what she did. Oh, what is this? We have a countdown. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. 4, 3, 2, 1.